like, how utterly embarrassing for the United States. All right. But anyway, let's get into this 12-year-old robber, honey, because who raised you? Okay, who raised you? A 12-year-old girl charged with multiple robberies. Mhm. This is all nefarious in Washington, D.C. Let's get into it, honey. I can't believe it either. I know y'all are shocked. 12 years old, really?
Were allegedly robbed by kids in Northeast D.C. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley is on this story today, and she joins us live.
Yeah, really stunning when you hear the ages of these children. Felicia, police made an arrest. What did you learn about the suspects and safety enhancements in that area?
That's right. They made an arrest this week. And listen to this. The suspect was just 12 years old. Police say a group of juveniles spent a Sunday evening in early October robbing two people.
What's the city trying to do to help like the youth to do something more?
This isn't the first time neighbors like Cody Wolf have had to deal with this.
You just always have to make sure that you're just walking or watching what's going on around you. Unfortunately, it's that time, but yeah, I mean it's not going to stop me from coming out and walking.
Police say a victim was biking after picking up groceries. A group of juveniles threw a separate bike in front of them and tried to take the victims, but instead took their groceries. The group then made their way to the Metropolitan Branch Trail, a path John Philippe walks every day.
It's not good for the district. It's not good for us. We want to be safe here. Walking on the trail, biking.
On the trail, police say the group grabbed the backpack of another victim while they were on a scooter. They tried to take the scooter, but stopped when they saw a MPD officer biking their way. The victim's phone was stolen instead.
I've been in D.C. for about 10 years. No surprise at all. I'm not surprised. I know how, some kids are, they're with themselves, in the streets. No parents to supervise them.
1 month after the crimes, police arrested a 12-year-old girl.
What is the city doing more to make sure that the youth have active stuff that they can do to be out and about instead of, always trying to be in some kind of crime or some kind of thing that could get them in trouble?
Now, that's a question we are bringing to the city. What is being done to prevent things like that? Now, in addition to this, police say they're still looking for more suspects that were involved in these robberies, again, juveniles. And one thing we did find out today, we did reach out and ask the Department of Transportation what enhancements they have made specifically along that trail. Because if you remember, we did a similar story back in May. Juveniles, again, participating in a spree of robberies in the area. Now, since then, DDOT says that they have added more of those emergency alert poles in the area. For now, reporting live from Northeast DC, Felicia.
A whole hot mess. Okay, a whole hot mess. D Major said, Queen, does the Trump news affect Black people? That's the dumbest ass question you ever asked, okay? In fact, the dumbest question I ever heard. I'm sorry, it absolutely is. Of course it affects Black people. What other reason would I be talking about it? Okay. I mean, haven't I been telling you all that it affects Black people? Didn't I tell you all that when they started, this massive sweep of immigrants, that they were going to start taking U.S. citizens and that Black people should at least be concerned about that because that could mean us? D Major, I'm disappointed. Okay, what a ridiculous question. What about the SNAP benefits? That definitely affected Black people. This is all Trump's doings. If he starts a war with Venezuela or anybody else, this is all going to affect Black people because wars affect our economy, beloved. Are you high this morning? Have you had a little something extra in your coffee? Yikes. What are you talking? What are we doing here? What are we doing here, D Major? I'm going to let you slide on that because I could really go in real bad, beloved. Sheesh.
Her mother.
Now this is a guy responding to the 12-year-old robber. He wants to know where the parents are. Who raised her?
God, where her mother at? Where this little girl mother at? Where they role models at? Where's the adults? That's the question we all trying to figure out.
People are stunned that the robbery suspect is just 12 years old. One of those robberies happening right here near the Noma Gallaudet U New York Avenue Metro Station. Riders tell me as they get off trains that they can't believe that the suspect is 12 years old. Let's roll some video to show you more about these robberies. Police say the 12-year-old and a group of juveniles were out here on the 200 block of M Street Northeast trying to steal someone's bike but snatching their groceries instead and running away around 7:45 last Wednesday night. Around just 20 minutes later, someone is riding a scooter on the Metropolitan Branch Trail near the 1300 block of 2nd Street Northeast. Detectives say the 12-year-old girl and a group of juveniles grabbed the rider's book bag, stealing the scooter and a cell phone. And then this past Sunday, that's when police tracked down one of the suspects, that 12-year-old girl, charging her with all the robberies. People who live in the neighborhood are shocked that the suspect is so young.
God, where her mother at? Where this little girl mother at? Where they role model?
I'm sorry, that was funny to me. He said, where they role models at? Where's the adults? Okay, I have several questions too. Like, what's really going on here? Okay, anywho, let's get into this report because um it's been 10 years since a black man by the name of Jamar Clark was fatally shot by Minneapolis police. But now new reports challenge the police account. Isn't this a darn shame? So you mean to tell me a whole darn decade later, more information comes out? It must have been a pretty good cover up. 10 years ago today, 24-year-old Jamar Clark was shot in the head and killed by Minneapolis police officers Mark Ringenberg and Dustin Schwartz. Okay, now we can tell what race they are by their names. Now, his death ignited weeks of protest outside the 4th Precinct and became a defining moment in Minneapolis, reckoning with police violence. So a decade later, no officer has faced discipline or charges. And Jamar's mother, Irma Burns, says her grief. Hold on, who is this? Okay, sorry about that. A decade later, no officers faced any consequences. And basically, his mother, Irma Burns, says her grief and her fight for accountability remain as heavy as ever. She says every day is a struggle. You look around and he's not there. It's kind of hard to get over that when you're so used to it. She says a new report by the reinvestigation work group sifts through the case evidence with fresh eyes. Now, the group's findings challenge the official narrative given by police, prosecutors, and federal investigators. Hold on, you all. I apologize. I don't know why people want to get on my nerves this morning. Anyway, so anywho, with that all being said, they say our goal is to prove that official police narrative. Okay. If what they said happened, then the facts should be there to back it up. So please don't tell me they've been lying this whole time. That's exactly what they're saying. Okay, the report concludes that key claims made by authorities were false or either unsupported, including assertions that Jamar had assaulted his girlfriend and was interfering with paramedics when the police got there. Okay, in reality, the report says the woman, Ray Ann Hayes, told investigators that Jamar was not her boyfriend and had not injured her. She had twisted her ankle earlier in the night while breaking up a fight at a party. Ambulance footage also contradicts police reports showing a calm Jamar peering into the ambulance to check on Hayes, not interfering with medical care as police claimed. Why would they tell this nefarious lie on this man if so? This is all crazy. You know, this is giving me the same energy as this documentary they have on Netflix where this black guy, I forget his name, but he was accused of murdering a white police officer by the name of Detective Mulligan, who was a dirty, dirty cop. Okay, dirty cop. And this cop was shot in the face several times, and they completely lied on this man, made up a whole story on this black man, just so they could hide the fact that the police that were engaging with Mulligan were all involved in corruption of the highest order. Okay, like Training Day with Denzel. Okay, this is all nefarious. So anyway, they go on to say the work group's review of forensic evidence suggests Jamar may have may have been shot while restrained or otherwise unable to pose even a threat. They say our review of the forensic evidence and interview cast serious doubt on the officer's narrative that Jamar was grabbing for an officer's gun. How many times have they told that lie? So they say here are some of the key findings. Most eyewitnesses reported Jamar was not physically resisting, but was verbally defiant. Okay, repeatedly saying F you to the officers. No witness reported hearing Officer Mark Rittenberg shout that Jamar had his gun or yell for Officer Dustin Schwartz to shoot. Okay, statements central to the officer's justification for lethal force. So this is basically what they were saying, that he tried to grab the gun, but that's not true according to witnesses. So video reviewed by the work group shows Rinkenberg at points lying on his left side with his right hip and the holstered gun on its elevated off the ground and his right arm extended forward. Investigators say this posture is inconsistent with an officer who believes a suspect is grabbing his weapon. Right. Think about that. If you're lying on your side and you're holding your weapon, usually if a suspect reaches for an officer's gun, they do so when it's on the hip and they're standing or they're on their knees, where the person can get a hold of it. The officer, that is either standing or on their knees, struggling with the person. Okay, that's usually how it happens. Not saying it couldn't happen another way, but that usually is how it occurs. So anyway, goes on to say, investigators say this posture is inconsistent, okay, with an officer who believes a suspect is grabbing his weapon. And it also indicates the gun was not in Jamar's possession. So when Rickenberg later stands up, his deputy belt and firearm appear to be in their normal position, contradicting his statement to state investigators that the gun had shifted to the small of his back during the struggle. Lies and more lies. Several witnesses also recalled Rickenberg jumping up after the shot, okay, checking himself for injuries and reportedly shouting, "What the F was that?" Forensic evidence showed Jamar's DNA on Rickenberg's mace holster and could not exclude him as a contributor on the gun grip, but the work group notes that ambulance video shows Rickenberg touching his gun and belt, touching his gun and belt immediately after touching Jamar, raising the possibility of DNA transfer. That makes absolute sense. Now, a responding paramedic additionally reported that Jamar's pants and belt were found around his mid-thigh, okay, suggesting his own clothing had restricted his movements. Now, all of these things contradict the police narrative that Jamar had the gun and call into question whether the use of force was even justified. Now, they go to the heart of the accountability and the public's trust in law enforcement and investigative integrity. So for Irma, which is the young man's mother that was shot and killed, the release of the new findings brings both validation and pain. She says they turned the story around to justify their tactics. That's just a slap in the face. They're still out there working like nothing happened, like my son's life didn't even matter. Irma says her family recently encountered one of the officers involved in Jamar's death. He had an attitude, she recalled, no remorse, none. 10 years later, and I feel like he's just waiting for another opportunity to do it again because he knows he'll be covered. He probably already has done it again, if we're being honest. Now, over the past decade, Minneapolis has seen more police killings. Amir Locke, Winston Smith, Tekel Sundberg, and others, even sparking grief and outrage, or each sparking grief and outrage. For Irma, each new case reopens an old wound. She says it's just like reopening up the wound all over again. Each and every time you hear about someone else, it's like reliving Jamar's death. My heart fully goes out to those families. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Still, she says she refuses to become anti-police. I know all police are not bad, but if they don't speak up, if they see something wrong and say nothing, then they're part of the problem too. They got to do better. I absolutely agree. For Irma, justice means accountability, both for the officers who killed her son and for the system that failed to hold them accountable. She says, I don't think they should be serving. For them to still be on the force is a slap in the face. Justice would be them not having any opportunity or another opportunity to do this to someone else. Now, the reinvestigation work group echoes her call. First of all, it should be more than them just being on the force. It should be more than them just getting fired and not being able to do it again. They should be sent to prison. Okay, they should have life sentences, whoever the officer is. And if it was more than one, they all should go down. Now, the reinvestigation work group echoes her call. Their report urges renewed federal scrutiny, okay, arguing that Jamar's civil rights were likely violated and that prior investigations by the BCA, Hennepin County Attorney, and U.S. Department of Justice were negligent at the minimum. It also places Jamar's killing within a larger historical pattern of Minneapolis police shootings of Black men, stretching back to Tysell Nelson in 1990, Walter Collins in 2003, okay, and Courtney Williams in 2004. Each case marked by disputed facts, unarmed victims, and no criminal accountability. So this is all very interesting. Let's go to this news report on the story. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance.
They did their own review years ago, but I think that a new county attorney should be looking at this case. Well, today marks 10 years since Minneapolis police shot and killed Jamar Clark. The 24-year-old's death sparking outrage and protests that many believe marked a turning point in the fight for police accountability. And as Courtney Godfrey reports, his family continues to fight for justice a decade later.
5 years before the police killing of George Floyd put Minneapolis in the spotlight, the death of a young man named Jamar Clark prompted outrage and protests. At the time, the Hennepin County attorney declined to charge the two officers involved. But a decade later, his family is now asking that the case be re-examined.
It's always, to me, is like yesterday.
Irma Burns says the pain of losing her son hasn't subsided 10 years after he was shot and killed by a pair of Minneapolis police officers.
He just was, type of person that wanted to, to live and to help. He was always helping.
Today, with the help of an organization called the Reinvestigation Work Group, they're hoping to convince the current county attorney to take a second look at the case.
Obviously, they did their own review years ago, but I think that a new county attorney should be looking at this case, and I think that they should be forwarding it to the Attorney General's office for potential criminal charges.
Emma Peterson has combed through the case file and even re-interviewed key witnesses and says there's many inconsistencies, disputing the police narrative that Clark tried to grab one of the officers' guns.
All of it shows that the officer's narrative that Jamar Clark was reaching for Officer Riggenberg's gun is just not supported by the evidence. And we find that incredibly concerning.
And while they continue to fight for criminal charges, they say they can at least find comfort in the many changes that have come since his death.
And so I think that Jamar's case was really a catalyst for the Black Lives Matter movement in Minneapolis. We saw a lot of organizing, and we saw a lot of discussions about what should police reform look like in the state of Minnesota, as well as at the local level.
I've seen a lot of unity. I've seen some things change that I want to say because of Jamar.
Clark's family says they remain involved with state and local efforts to improve police accountability, and they've even started a nonprofit to provide resources and mentorship to young people. In Minneapolis tonight.
Okay, so that's an absolutely egregious story. Very sad. My condolences to the family. I hope they do get justice, and I'm glad these people are looking into it. For 10 years after his death, Jamar Clark's name still echoes through Minneapolis on murals, on protest signs, and now etched in granite on a bench facing Plymouth Avenue. For his mother and the community, the fight continues. They failed to give him a chance to live, she says, but we're still here and we're not giving up. And as for the reinvestigation work group, moving ahead, we will be pressing the Hennepin County Attorney's Office to forward Jamar's case to the Attorney General's office for potential criminal charges. So like I said, hopefully somebody gets some type of punishment. They need. Oh, you were muted for 10 seconds. Okay, that's it. Okay. Yeah, but so anyway, they need to get the maximum consequences. Okay, I hope they don't just continue to get away with it. And they had a serious cover-up going on here. And the sad thing is, when you think about the corruption within the police force, within law enforcement in general, because the FBI is nefarious as well, in my opinion, the ATF, all of them. CIA, all of them engage in corruption to some degree, in my opinion. Not all of them, but some. And so as long as you have things like that going on, there's always going to be injustice, specifically for people that look like me. I just don't ever think that's going to change. Okay. And it's really sad because there's innocent people sitting in prisons right now with life sentences, decades of sentencing. And there's even people on death row, I'm sure, that didn't do a darn thing, because I continue to tell you all how DNA testing has exonerated over 200 people, okay, from death row. So imagine the people that didn't live to get exonerated or have the DNA testing done. Okay, dead people or innocent people have been, likely killed. So, and that's one of the reasons I don't really agree with capital punishment. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Odd Negroes Official says accountability will happen, just a matter of time. I hope so, beloved. Okay, I hope so. Above all that drama says FBI, famous but incompetent. Okay? Listen, speaking of you, above all that drama, I'm trying to figure out how or why YouTube removed your mod status. Why did they do that? Because it had to be YouTube. I didn't take your wrench. But Desmond brought it to my attention earlier in the broadcast that you don't have a wrench. And I tried to add one, but they're not allowing me to. Okay, so not from the live at least. I'm going to have to go try and do it another way. I don't know how that happens. But just make sure you all do your due diligence, because just like they do little stuff like that, they also unsubscribe people and then lie about it. Okay, so make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. Don't forget to tune in later at about 6:30, because we will be live again. Okay, so until then, beloveds, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got